Yellow. The Egyptian Book of the Dead is the name that E.A. Wallis Budge gives to the Papyrus of Ani, or his translation. It says here that Dr. Budge became perhaps the world's most renowned Egyptologist, and I agree with that. But here's the bad news. His translation is wrong. It says up here the Papyrus of Ani is a manuscript with cursive hieroglyphs, and that's also wrong. This is a sheet from the Papyrus of Ani, part 2 of the funeral procession. And these are not cursive hieroglyphics. You might think they're cursive because they're crudely drawn with a reed pen, and the reason for that, the Papyrus of Ani was about 16, 17 inches wide, and they had to draw these hieroglyphs in a very small area, versus temple hieroglyphics, which were carved in stone on temple walls with a chisel and a hammer. And they had a lot of space to work with. So they're higher quality, had more detail. But the Papyrus of Ani has a mixture of temple carved standard hieroglyphics and some that are unique to papyruses that you don't see in temples. But they're all genuine hieroglyphics. This is cursive handwriting. It's called hieratic. It coexisted with hieroglyphics around 1250 BC, when this papyrus was created. The difference is these glyphs here, as we call them letters today, are joined to speed up handwriting, whereas hieroglyphs are not connected. They're all separate individual pictorial images. Now these glyphs here represent meaning and sounds of words that were spoken. And cursive handwriting was for the purpose of administrative and commercial purposes, whereas hieroglyphics was the language of the priesthood. It represented a carnal and divine science of genetics. Now it says here, comprehend these hieroglyphics and these columns here shed light on this subject up here of human and divine genetics. Does the Budge translation do that? Well, this is his translation of these two columns here. This top row is his replacement of these hieroglyphics here in the papyrus with standardized temple carved hieroglyphics. But are they the same? Now this middle line here, this is an interlinear transliteration of their sounds as reconstructed. Now what that means, when the Egyptians read or spoke hieroglyphics, it sounded like these words using English letters. Well, that's garbage, because Egyptian hieroglyphics was never the spoken language of Egypt. Now this third line right here is Budge's translation, or what they mean. This is what they sounded like, and this is what they mean. To me, my mouth, may I speak with it, before the God, great the Lord, of the underworld. Not may be repulsed my hand and arm by the divine chiefs of the God any. I am Osiris, Lord of Restah. Now, not one word of that is correct. Except this sign here does mean the Lord, but not in this context. Now I've taken these two columns here and enlarged them and posted them over here. Now this second column here are Budge's replacement of these crude hieroglyphics in the papyrus with standardized temple-carved hieroglyphics. And I put them side by side so I could show you his mistakes. Now I'm going to start up here at the top. This bird here is a vulture. You see the curved beak here? Well, he's replaced that, but replaced it with a quail chick. See here, it has no, the beak is not curved. That's a mistake. In the Papyrus of Ani, when you see this bird here, that's a quail chick. This can be converted to this. This is a better quality image. But you can't convert this. So I give him a red check there. That's a mistake. Now this next sign here is correct, but this sign right here is not. This is not cursive. It's I've seen it in a number of papyruses. This here means practicing the law of genetics, referring to holding back, whereas this hieroglyphic here means the higher and lower law of the power of you. So this is another mistake here. You can't convert this to this. Now these two here are correct, but they're not cursive. These are common hieroglyphics in temple hieroglyphics. Now this sign here, you see, is the same as this. But here he's converted it to a different hieroglyphic. Now that's a mistake. See, this sign here is different than this. See the hand here? This means practicing the law of genetics, referring to both, but more rightly divine, higher. So that's another red check. You can't convert this to this. Now here's a major mistake. See this sign here? This is not a hand. This is not a hand. This means your fourth and fifth power of mind, whereas this means the principle or power of your life. Now this is not cursive. I've seen it in a number of papyruses. Now here's another mistake right here. See this sign here? It's omitted. In its translation here, it's missing. That's got to be in there. That has meaning. Now this is another mistake here. This is a flame sign. It means your desire. Now this sign here is not the same as this. See, this is what it looks like here, and I'll tell you what it means in just a minute. So that's another red check there, error. Now here again, you see this up here and this? This is a vulture. It has the curved beak. It's not a quail chick. So this is another mistake. Down here, we have another mistake. This man here is not the same as this man, and this is not cursive. I've seen this same sign on a couple papyruses. This means practicing the law of genetics, referring to a right and biased spirit of mind. This sign here means practicing the law of genetics, referring to speaking rightly. Now here again, on this next one here, you see here, it's the same mistake. These here. I've already told you what this means. Now here's a major mistake here. You see this bird here and this here? This has one leg. This has two. This has a face. This is an owl. This is not an owl. This means the two powers of your spirit of mind, what you're looking at and listening to. Now this also is a mistake. In the Papyrus of Ani, when you see this sign here, you can convert that to this. This is a reed. They have the same meaning. But this here is a different sign, a different hieroglyph. Now this is also wrong. You see here the line at the bottom? This has no line. There's two forms of this hieroglyph, with a line and without. Meaning your two powers of life here, and this here means your two powers of life on earth. So that's another red check mistake. Now this next hieroglyphic here is correct. But I looked at this for a long time and couldn't figure out what it meant until I realized this should be U-shaped. This is the correct form of this. So on this one, I give him a black check using a defective designed hieroglyphic here. Now this next sign here is correct. Now this is not cursive. This is common in temple hieroglyphics. Now this next sign here is not correct. You see this is square shaped at the top. This here has two slanted lines and is triangular. This means the knowledge of the two powers of the spirit or desire, whereas this sign here means the knowledge of the law. So you can't convert this to this. Now down here, next, this here is correct. This is not. This is a different hieroglyphic, and it's not cursive. I've seen it in several papyruses. Now, when you see this hieroglyphic here, you can convert it to this. This is, the form is superior. It means practicing the genetics of the father, the principle of virility represented by the beard. Here it is right here, and other places in the papyrus. But you can't use this as, can't replace this with this. That's a mistake. This has a different meaning. Now this next sign here, hieroglyph, It looks like this is correct. It's similar, very similar, but it's not. This means the power of the inner spirit. This means the power of life of your spirit of mind. So that's another mistake. Now this next hieroglyphic here is also a mistake. See, this has a hand here. This does not have a hand. There's two forms of this hieroglyphic. One with a hand and one without. So this also is a mistake. Now here again, you see this here is the same mistake. You can't replace this with this because those are two different hieroglyphics and they mean something different. Now these next two here are correct, but they're not cursive. They're common temple carved hieroglyphics. Now, he's made 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16 mistakes just in this one column. Converting the hieroglyphics in the papyrus with different or wrong hieroglyphics. Now, in addition to that, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15 are facing the wrong direction. Now, Budge read these hieroglyphics here from left to right, and that's correct. Because the funeral procession is moving in this direction. You wouldn't start here at the tomb and read these hieroglyphics backwards. But when you're reading in this direction, the hieroglyphics have to face this direction as they are here in the papyrus. So this is a green check, not a red check. Because whether these hieroglyphics are facing this direction or that direction, they mean the same thing. But that's a technical violation. Now in this column here, in two places, here and here, he replaced the same hieroglyphic here with two different. Now that's another mistake. One more mistake here, he omitted one hieroglyphic in his translation. You can't do that. Down here he's using a defective hieroglyphic. It's designed improperly. When you see one of those, you have to fix it. I'm going to go to the next column. This is correct. Now you can see that this bird and this bird are different here. This has one leg, this has two. This means that two powers of the Father Spirit of mine, this has a different meaning. So this here is a red check, air. Now this is correct, but it should be more elongated, although it does have the same meaning. Now you notice here he has a period. Right here. No period. No period in any of these columns. Egyptian hieroglyphics do not use periods. The only time that you would see a period or use a period at the end of a speech of a goddess or a god, then you can put a period. But these columns is a continuous statement. No periods in these columns. Now this next hieroglyphic here, you see is U-shaped. This is square at the top. These are two arms representing your two powers of mind. This here means the principle of two rights, so that's another big mistake right there. Now this appears to be right, but it's slightly wrong. See this line underneath here? This has no line underneath. That changes the meaning, so that's another mistake. Now here's a major mistake here. See this hand is holding this sign? This hand is not holding any sign. In the Papyrus of Ani, when you see this sign right here, or this, you can convert it to this because it's better drawn, but not this. You see here, in the Papyrus of Ani, here's this sign here, and here's this sign here. They're two different signs. So that's another mistake. Okay, now this is correct. This is the same. Excuse me. Now, here's the same mistake that he made up here. This is a vulture. See the curved beak? This is a quail chick. That's the wrong replacement. It should be this. Now here, you see the arm here is the same, so this here is correct. Now this is correct also. Why would that be cursive? That's very common in temple hieroglyphics. Well, here again he made the same mistake as I told you about here, and he made that same mistake here. So that's 3 times he's made that mistake. These are 2 different hieroglyphics. This is you see in temple hieroglyphics. This is common in papyruses. This is not shorthand for this. This is not cursive for these. These are 2 separate hieroglyphics. Now here's this sign here. This is correct. But like down here, it's the design is defective. It's not U-shaped at the top. So that's a black check. This has to look like this. Now you would think that these are correct here, but they're not. This is correct, but this is not the same. This is the triangular at the top. This has this line, the T-top. This translates different than this. So that's a mistake there. Now you see this? That's not the same as this. This has 2 slanted lines here, over here. This means your desire of the underworld. This means your desire of the underworld 2 powers. So these 3 here are mistakes. Now this hieroglyphic here is correct, but it's not cursive. That's common in temple hieroglyphics, and that's the standard for correctness. Now here again he makes the same mistake as he made here. You can convert this to this, but not this, because this has a different meaning. But this sign here is correct. Now this is correct, but this period here is not. Here it is. It's got 1 period here and 1 period here. 2 in this columns. No periods. Now here is the same as this up here. It's not correct. It's triangular here, where this has the T-top. Now here's a major mistake. You can see that this is different from this. This is not cursive. This is not handwritten for this. This means your egg, the Lord. This here means the principle of your egg, or power of your egg. Today, we would use the term genome, or your DNA. So this right here is a major mistake. You can't convert this to this. I've seen this in a number of her papyruses. Now here again, he's made the same mistake here 4 times. Here, 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 and here. These are two different hieroglyphics. Now you would think that this would be the same, but it's not. See, it has two slanted lines here. This means the principle of your set mind and body. This means the principle of your set mind and body, two powers. Now, this is correct, the I. And these here are four are correct. But they're not cursive. He has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16 mistakes also in this column. How could his translation be correct if he's misidentified 2/3 of these hieroglyphics? In addition to that, in this one column here, he's got this same hieroglyphic, but he has replaced it with two different. Now that's a mistake. Used this defective hieroglyphic here. It's got two periods in this column that don't belong there. And he has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 hieroglyphics facing the wrong direction. Now that's a technical mistake. When you're reading in this direction, it should be facing that direction. Now, next I'm going to go to the translation. Starting here, I've divided this into different sections. According to Budge, these hieroglyphics from here to here mean the God and great the Lord of. No, that's not correct. This man is not a God. It's a man practicing genetics. He's not great the Lord. That's in the wrong context. How could he be correct with four mistaken hieroglyphics here? Now, why would this 5-pointed star mean of? Well, it doesn't. I'm going to give you the correct decipherment here. The 5-pointed star means the light of the fifth kingdom. Humans are the fourth. The light of heaven, that's divine. Now the light of the fifth kingdom, the Lord, not this man. The knowledge of the law, the higher knowledge of one principle, the power of life of your spirit of mind. Practicing the law of genetics, the power of your mind, the principle of belief. That's what those hieroglyphics mean. I dropped my pointer. Okay, now these next 3 hieroglyphics here, according to Budge, they mean before. Why in the world would these 3 mean before? When this is not even correctly, it's not the same hieroglyphic as this. Now what this means here, these 3 here, the knowledge of the law of procreation, that is the emission of sperm, the power of your spirit of mind to grasp. That's what that means. Now the next 3 here, according to Budge, means with it. What is the science for that? 3 hieroglyphics here, all which are wrong. Why would they mean with it? What they mean is your 2 powers of life, the power of your spirit of mind to grasp, the principle of power of steady. Now, Look at here. From here to here, according to Budge, these mean, may I speak. No, this man is not speaking. He's referring to the right spirit of mind. Why would this quail chick here mean, may I speak? And what is the meaning of this man? There's no rhyme or reason for why these hieroglyphics here mean, may I speak. They mean the higher and lower law, the power of you. Practicing the law of genetics, the power of speaking rightly. Referring to speaking rightly. Two powers of your spirit of mind, seeing and making a pick. Your lower and higher power of life of your blood. Blood, the principle or power of your life. Up here, according to Budge, these three mean my mouth. Well, here, this is an outline of the lips, but it doesn't mean my mouth. Now, if this means my mouth, what does this man mean? He's left that out of his translation. It means the higher and lower law, the power of you, one principle or power, speech. Now here, these three up here, Budge translates to me. Why would they mean to me? Three hieroglyphics. And this is not even a quail chick, it's a vulture. It means the higher and lower law, the power of you, the written meaning or interpretation, two powers of your spirit of mind, seeing and making a pick, because you have two choices, there's two laws here. That's what those mean. Now I'm going to go to the second column here and show you the mistakes in his translation. Starting here at the bottom, these right here. Now he says, I am Osiris, Lord of Re. That's wrong. Where is Osiris here? This man is not Osiris. This is Osiris, because he's wearing the Atef crown. This is from the Papyrus of Ani. When you see this, you can say Osiris. Practicing the genetics of Osiris, the power of life of your two spirits of mind, and the principle of virility represented by the beard, the power to turn up. Now notice here that he's wearing the right crown of Upper Egypt. That's the objective power of the physical man in his senses. It's not subjective. He's not the lord of the underworld. Now, see these two hieroglyphics here? He's translated them re. Why? They don't mean re. Let me show you how he gets that. See, at the bottom of this here, because he's reading them down from top to the bottom, you're saying these two hieroglyphics here mean re. And he's using four hieroglyphics here in the next column to spell resta. Now that's the mistake. You never use hieroglyphics in two columns to spell a word, because hieroglyphics never spell names or places. Each hieroglyphic means at least one word or a phrase. So here it's separate. Now, because he went into the next column here, he's made a couple other mistakes. You see this sign right here? This is what it is. but he replaced it with this sign, which means your death and resurrection, or the Son. This means the principle of three powers connected. And this sign here, this right here, he's replaced it with these three lines. That's a mistake. This means here, the principle of three powers connected, your three eyes. Now you have, referring to your two outer physical eyes and the inner eye of your mind. One principle of the power of life. Now these two here are correct here, but this sign here, although it is a different design than this, it means the same. So this does not mean Rista. That's a fictitious name. He's never, to my knowledge, ever explained what that means. I'm going to go back here to where I was left off here. So, no, I am the Osiris Lord of Re. That's not correct. Hieroglyphics do not spell names. And what these hieroglyphics mean here, speaking of one principle or power, the Lord, the power of seeing. The principle of your set mind and body, two powers. The higher and lower law, the power of you. The principal power of your egg, or genome, or DNA. The truth of your life, or blood. Okay, now I'm going to go from here to here. Now, according to Budge, he's translated all these hieroglyphics here by the divine chiefs of God Any. Well, that's not correct, because there is no God Any. And this man here is not a god, and here he's translated chief. And the reason he is plural, chiefs, he's counting these here as three chiefs. But these are not three lines, they're three discs, so this is completely wrong. No God Any. And he left these out of his translation, skipped over them. Now what these mean here, the Lord, practicing the law of genetics, the power of your mind, the principle of belief. The written meaning or interpretation of three stages of the sunrise, of man practicing genetics, the principle of three confirmations. Comprehend the truth of your life or blood, your desire of the underworld carnal, two powers, your desire of the underworld divine, two powers, the power of your spirit of mind to grasp. That's what those means. Now look at, no period here. See, these two connect. The truth of your life or blood, the Lord. No period here. Okay, now, I'm going to get these next three here. He translates these, my hand and arm. Yes, this is an arm and a hand, but that's not the correct translation. He's left this man out of the translation. These three being the higher and lower law of the power of you, one principle of power, higher knowledge or divine, the principle or power of your mind. I'm going to go up here to these right here. Well, his translation may be repulsed. Why in the world would those hieroglyphics mean that? This is not a quail chick. This is the wrong hieroglyphic for this. This is wrong. How his translation be correct? What they mean is, comprehend. Two powers of your spirit of mind, seeing and making a pick. Higher knowledge, the principle of power of your mind. Your two powers of life, the truth of your spirit, the principle of two rights. That's what this means. Now at the top up here, he says these hieroglyphics mean the underworld. No. The mind is not the underworld. The vulture is not the underworld. This sign is not the underworld. This sign here is the underworld. And there's no period here. What this means here, the knowledge of two laws, comprehend the power of your spirit of mind, seeing and making a pick. The power of your spirit of mind seeing, grasping, and making a pick. Because you have two choices, two laws here. Now, the reason why there's no period here, these connect. The principle of two rights, the knowledge of two laws. So you have a right here to practice the law human or the law divine. Now, I'm going to go here, show you some other mistakes of Wallis Budge here. Now this sign here, he translates the Lord, but it's not in the right context because he's referring to this man here, the God, great the Lord. He's not a God. To be a God, you have to wear a crown. To be a god or a goddess. This is a man practicing genetics. The Lord here means the light of the fifth kingdom, the Lord. Or the light of the fifth kingdom and the knowledge of the law of the Lord. Not this man. So that's in the wrong context. Now here, see here? He's translated to the same hieroglyphic. He's given a different meaning here. Any. The God any. Again, this man is the God any. The Lord. No. The Lord here is referring to, well, this is the wrong hieroglyphic here, but it means the truth of your life or blood, the Lord. Now, see the quail chick here? That helps make, with these hieroglyphics here, helps make this translation, to me. But here we have the quail chick again, and it helps make this statement, may I speak. And down here, the quail chick helps make this statement, not may be reposed. So he's giving different meanings here to this quail chick. And besides that, it's not a quail chick, it's a vulture. Now up here, you see this sign right here? These two here? He says, my mouth. But down here, the same two hieroglyphics, and he's translated it re, part of this word here. These two hieroglyphics here always mean the same thing. You can't give them completely different meanings to hieroglyphics. Now I'm going to take one more here. This sign right here. These three right here, he says, he translates before. These three hieroglyphics. And he says that they were pronounced Imba. The people of Egypt, some 3,000 or 4,000 years ago, when they seen these hieroglyphics here or read them, they would say Mba. Well, that's garbage for two reasons. Hieroglyphics was never the spoken language of Egypt, and the spoken language of Egypt, when this papyrus was created, was an Afro-Asiatic dialect, and we don't know what it sounded like because we have no recordings. Today, the language of Egypt is Arabic. So the mother language of Egypt, 3,000 or 4,000 years ago, is lost and forgotten. We don't know what it sounded like, and neither does Budge. Now, you see this hieroglyphic here? In another place, he translates this in the Book of the Dead as the phallus. Well, that's what it is, the penis and testicles. But that's not the correct symbolic meaning. It means the dual principle of procreation. And that's crucial here to explaining this vignette here, the birth of the physical body of these human spirits of the underworld. And he left that out of his translation. That's got to be in there. Now, also he's giving these hieroglyphics different meanings here. You see this bird here? This is in chapter 14. Just this bird alone, he's translating before, and here are 3 hieroglyphics, and they are also translated before. In other words, he's leaving these out of his translation, and you can't do that. And here's, we go to the appendix in the Book of the Dead, and now these 3 hieroglyphics right here are translated in the presence. In Bush's translation, there are thousands of inconsistencies where he gives the same hieroglyphic 2 or 3 different meanings, and he omits hieroglyphics in his translation. Now this man up here in the funeral procession is referring with his left hand to these hieroglyphics here, the chest, the papyruses, these female mourners, this cow and calf here, and he's saying with his right hand here, or pointing out, they have a higher symbolic meaning. Understanding this helps you to take the right step going forward. But you're not taking you're taking the wrong step going forward. Excuse me, I have something wrong with my throat. Not taking the right step forward if you think these hieroglyphics are cursive, that it was the spoken language of ancient Egypt, and these hieroglyphics represent letters of the alphabet and they have phonetic value, then you're taking the wrong step going forward. Now it says here, the Book of the Great Awakening. Well, the Wallis Budge translation is not the Great Awakening. It's the true meaning of these hieroglyphics. What the Bush wrong translation does is help us to recognize the right decipherment. Now, if you want to understand what this funeral procession part 2 means, I explained it in a video that I posted on the internet. That's my message for today.